Trust that God has a plan for every moment of your life. No matter how unpredictable or challenging your future seems, God is always in control. His plans for you are filled with hope, purpose, and a good future. You don't have to worry about what tomorrow holds because He is already ahead of you, guiding you through each day. Living in the present with confidence, we often find ourselves consumed by worry about the future, but God calls us to focus on the present. By living today with gratitude and faith, we prepare ourselves for tomorrow. The key is to trust God each step of the way, knowing He is faithful to provide exactly what we need when we need it. Faith over fear, fear of the unknown often holds us back from moving forward, but we must choose faith over fear. When we put our trust in God, He will give us the strength to face whatever tomorrow may bring. The Bible reminds us that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. God's timing is perfect. Timing is everything. We may want to rush ahead, but God's timing is always perfect. When we wait on Him and trust in His process, we position ourselves for His best. Our impatience can lead to mistakes, but God's timing never fails. He knows exactly what you need and when you need it. Now that the keynotes are ready, let me know if you'd like me to help write the full speech for you. We all experience moments when the future seems uncertain, and it's easy to feel like we're walking in the dark, unsure of where we're heading. The truth is, though, that God has a plan for each and every one of us. His plan for your life is not something that's left to chance, nor is it based on your ability to figure everything out on your own. It's a divine plan that is intricately woven into every moment, every decision, and every twist in your journey. When we talk about God holding tomorrow, we need to understand that He has already mapped out the path that leads to your purpose. God's plans for you are far greater than anything you could ever imagine for yourself. Even when things seem unclear or when you're facing challenges, remember that He knows the end from the beginning. And He doesn't just know it, He's actively involved in it. The Scripture tells us, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." Jeremiah 29:11. This is the promise that God has already prepared your tomorrow with hope, prosperity, and a future that is better than what you can envision. It's easy to focus on the obstacles we face, but God is inviting us to trust that even through the trials, He is guiding us towards something greater. When we have this understanding, we can step into each new day with confidence, knowing that it is part of His bigger, beautiful picture. There will be times when things don't go as planned. Life has a way of throwing curveballs our way, and those unexpected moments can make us feel as though we're losing control. We start to question, why is this happening? Where is God in this? But here's the thing, God doesn't promise that there won't be storms. In fact, He warns us that we will face difficulties, but He also assures us that He will never leave us or forsake us. Even in the hard moments, He is right there with us, orchestrating every detail of our lives. When you understand that God is in control of tomorrow, it frees you from the burden of trying to control everything yourself. So often we try to hold on to our plans, our ideas of how life should unfold, but God is asking us to let go and trust in His timing. His plan isn't always immediate, and sometimes it's hard to see where He's leading us, but that's why it's called faith. Faith is about trusting in something you can't see with your physical eyes. It's about believing that God is working in the background even when it feels like nothing is happening. One of the most powerful things you can do in the face of uncertainty is to surrender your plans to God. Surrender doesn't mean giving up hope, it means giving God permission to work in your life in ways you can't even comprehend. You can rest assured that His plan will always be better than anything you could ever come up with. He knows you better than you know yourself, and His plan is designed specifically for you with your strengths, your weaknesses, your heart, and your dreams in mind. I think about all the times you faced something you thought you couldn't get through, yet here you are. God carried you through it all, even when you didn't have the strength to carry yourself. And if He did it before, He will do it again. God's plan for you doesn't change based on your circumstances. It remains steadfast, unwavering, and filled with purpose. His plan doesn't depend on what you've done or haven't done. It is based on His love for you and the destiny He's written for your life. When you begin to understand that God holds tomorrow, you can release the anxiety and pressure of trying to figure it all out. You don't have to have all the answers today. God will reveal His plan to you piece by piece at the right time. Your job is to trust Him with what's ahead and stay faithful to where you are today. Trust in His wisdom, His timing, and His ability to make things work for your good. When you walk in the understanding that God holds tomorrow, you stop living in fear of the unknown. You start to live with the assurance that the Creator of the universe has your back. He is guiding you, providing for you, and ensuring that your path is aligned with His perfect will. You don't need to know every detail, just trust that God is working out the best future for you, even when you can't see it yet. The key is to stay faithful in the now, trusting that the God who holds tomorrow has you right where you need to be. And with that trust, you can face each day with peace, knowing that the best is yet to come. Living in the present can be one of the most freeing and powerful ways to approach life, especially when we're faced with uncertainty about the future. It's so easy to get caught up in thoughts of what might happen tomorrow, next month, or even next year. We spend so much time planning, worrying, and imagining future scenarios that we miss the richness and joy of the present moment. But when we remember that God holds tomorrow, we can shift our focus back to today, knowing that His timing is perfect and that He is in control of everything ahead of us. To live in the present with confidence requires a deep understanding that God is already ahead of us, taking care of our tomorrows. We are often so focused on what comes next that we forget to enjoy the moment we are currently in. It's important to realize that we only have control over today. Today is the day we can choose to walk in faith, to enjoy the people around us, and to embrace the opportunities that God places before us. When we trust God with tomorrow, we free ourselves from the constant anxiety of trying to figure everything out. We can simply live in the moment, knowing that God is holding our future. The Bible encourages us not to be anxious about tomorrow. In Matthew 6:34, Jesus tells us, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself." Each day has enough trouble of its own. This powerful verse reminds us that while we may face challenges and struggles, we are not meant to carry the weight of tomorrow today. God doesn't want us to live in fear or anxiety about what lies ahead. Instead, He invites us to live each day with the confidence that He will provide what we need when we need it. If we spend all our energy worrying about what may happen tomorrow, we miss the blessings of today. Living in the present requires us to release control over the future and embrace the peace of trusting that God will lead us one step at a time. So often we want to know the whole picture, but God gives us just enough light for the next step. This can be frustrating at times because our human nature longs for certainty, but it's also where we grow in faith. When we choose to live in the present, we stop obsessing over the things we can't control. We learn to let go of the what ifs and place our trust fully in the one who knows the future and holds it in His hands. Being present also means recognizing the blessings and opportunities that God has given us right now. It's easy to take today for granted because we're so focused on tomorrow, but every day is a gift. Every day brings new opportunities to learn, to grow, and to build relationships. When we focus on today, we start to appreciate the small moments, the conversations with loved ones, the beauty of nature, the joy of laughter, and the simple blessings that often go unnoticed. These moments are a reflection of God's goodness, and when we live in the present, we open ourselves up to experience His peace and joy in a deeper way. Another important aspect of living in the present is choosing to let go of regrets from the past. It's so easy to look back and wonder, what if I had done things differently? But dwelling on past mistakes or missed opportunities doesn't help us move forward. Instead, we can take comfort in knowing that God works all things together for good, even when we don't understand why things happen the way they did. The past is behind us, and God offers us a fresh start every day. When we focus on today, we can release the weight of our regrets and trust that God is using everything, both the good and the bad, to shape us into who He created us to be. Living in the present also gives us the opportunity to walk in obedience to God in real time. When we're not distracted by worries about the future, we're better able to hear God's voice and respond to His promptings. God speaks to us through the stillness of our hearts, through the Word, and through the situations He places in our path. If we're always looking ahead or looking back, we miss the opportunity to be fully present with God and to obey Him right where we are. The present moment is where God meets us and where His will unfolds in our lives. Choosing to live in the present also empowers us to take action today. It's easy to think that we'll have time to do something tomorrow, but we don't know what the future holds. Today is the only day we have, and if we're faithful in the small things today, God will honor that faithfulness in ways we can't imagine. Whether it's helping someone in need, pursuing a passion, or just showing kindness to those around us, today is the day we can make a difference. When we live in the present, we allow God to work through us without the distractions of worry or regret. We trust that He is holding tomorrow, and we focus on what He has placed in our hands today. Each day is an opportunity to grow in faith, to experience His love, and to make a positive impact on the world around us. And when we do that, we discover that the future we've been anxious about will unfold in its own time according to God's perfect plan. Fear of the unknown is a natural part of being human, and it's something we all face at different times in our lives. Whether it's fear about our future, fear of failure, or fear of circumstances that are beyond our control, it can be paralyzing. But in those moments, we have a powerful choice to make. We can choose to let fear control us, or we can choose faith. Choosing faith over fear doesn't mean that we deny the reality of our worries or that we ignore our emotions. It means that we trust God more than we trust our fears, knowing that He is always with us and that He has a good plan for our lives. One of the biggest lies that fear tries to convince us of is that we are alone in our struggles. It tries to make us feel isolated and helpless, as if no one understands what we're going through or how we're feeling. But the truth is that God has promised to never leave us or forsake us. He is with us every step of the way, and we can always rely on His presence. In Isaiah 41:10, God reassures us, "So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." When we put our faith in this promise, we begin to realize that fear has no power over us because we are not facing our challenges alone. God is walking with us, guiding us, and giving us the strength we need to overcome anything. Faith, on the other hand, is powerful. Faith doesn't ignore the reality of fear or difficulty, but it chooses to focus on the bigger picture. It chooses to believe that no matter what happens, God is in control. The Bible tells us that faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen, Hebrews 11:1. Even though we can't always see the outcome, we trust that God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating everything for our good. Faith doesn't require us to have all the answers. It just requires us to trust in God's character and His promises. We may not know what tomorrow holds, but we can have confidence that God holds tomorrow, and He will guide us through it. One of the most encouraging things we can do when fear threatens to overwhelm us is to remember the many times God has been faithful in the past. Looking back at His faithfulness in our lives builds our confidence for the future. If God has brought us through difficulties before, He will do it again. It's important to reflect on those times when we thought we wouldn't make it, but somehow by God's grace we did. When we recall His faithfulness, we remember that He has never let us down and that He never will. Each victory, no matter how small, strengthens our faith and helps us stand firm in the face of new challenges. Fear often comes from the unknown, but when we walk in faith, we embrace the certainty that God is always with us, even in the uncertainty. He doesn't promise that we won't face trials or difficult moments, but He promises that He will never leave us and that He will give us the strength to endure. When we place our faith in God, we are choosing to trust in His goodness and His ability to bring us through any situation. Faith allows us to face fear with courage because we know that we are never alone and that God's power is greater than any fear that may arise. It's also important to remember that fear is often tied to control. We fear what we can't control. But the truth is that there is very little we can control in life. We can't control the future, the people around us, or even the outcomes of our efforts. What we can control, however, is our response. We can choose to respond with faith rather than fear. When we let go of our need to control everything, we open ourselves up to God's perfect plan. We trust that He will take care of the details, even when we don't understand them. Surrendering control to God doesn't mean we're giving up. It means we're trusting in His greater wisdom and ability to lead us where we need to go. Choosing faith over fear also involves taking action. Faith isn't passive, it's active. It means stepping out in confidence, even when we don't know exactly what will happen. It means doing the right thing, even when we're afraid of the consequences. God doesn't ask us to have everything figured out before we take a step forward. He asks us to trust Him and take the next step in faith. When we do that, we begin to see that the fear we were once so afraid of loses its power. The more we act in faith, the more we see God working through us, and the more we grow in our confidence in Him. When we choose faith over fear, we are also choosing peace. Fear causes anxiety, worry, and restlessness, but faith brings peace. Philippians 4:6-7 tells us, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This peace doesn't make sense to the world. It doesn't make sense to be calm in the face of adversity, but it's a supernatural peace that comes from trusting in God's sovereignty and His goodness. The more we choose faith over fear, the more we begin to experience the freedom and joy that come from living in the confidence that God holds tomorrow. Fear no longer has a grip on us because we know that God is in control and we are secure in His love. When we trust Him with our future, we can live in the present with peace and assurance, knowing that He is guiding us every step of the way. Timing is something that we often struggle to understand, especially when things don't unfold as quickly or as neatly as we'd like them to. As humans, we tend to want things to happen on our schedule. We want immediate results, answers, and changes. But God's timing is so much greater than our own. He sees the bigger picture, and His timing is always perfect, even when it feels like we're waiting for something that seems far off or uncertain. We live in a world where instant gratification is the norm. From fast food to instant messaging, we are conditioned to expect quick answers and immediate results. But the truth is, God doesn't operate on our timetable. He operates on His own, one that is perfectly aligned with His plans for our lives. In fact, His timing is one of the most profound ways He shows us His wisdom and His love. It's easy to get frustrated when things don't happen in the way we expect, but we must trust that God's delays are not denials. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. It may simply mean that God is preparing you for what He has ahead, or that He has a better time in mind. The Bible reminds us time and time again that God's timing is perfect. Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Everything we experience, from the greatest joys to the deepest struggles, happens in its appointed time. We may not always understand why certain things happen when they do, but when we trust God's timing, we can be confident that everything is happening for a reason. There are seasons in life, and each one serves a purpose. There are times to plant and times to harvest, times to mourn and times to rejoice. It's only when we accept God's timing that we begin to see the beauty in these seasons and recognize that each moment has its place in the bigger picture He's creating for us. When we're waiting for something, whether it's a breakthrough in our careers, a change in our relationships, or healing from a difficult situation, it's tempting to get impatient. We want things to move faster. We want our prayers to be answered immediately. But God doesn't work according to our schedule, and His delay is not a sign of His neglect. Instead, it's an invitation to grow in patience, faith, and trust. The waiting process isn't just about enduring, it's about learning to trust in God's faithfulness and His perfect plan for us. It's in these moments of waiting that we're often shaped the most, building our character and deepening our relationship with God. Patience is key when it comes to God's timing. In James 5:7-8, we're reminded to be patient and to stand firm, because the Lord's coming is near. It's not about just waiting idly, it's about waiting with anticipation, with hope, and with the trust that God will fulfill His promises in His time. We are called to trust that God knows exactly what we need and when we need it. His timing isn't random, it's intentional. He knows when we are ready for the blessings and the growth He has for us. If things happen before we were ready, we might not be able to handle them, or we might miss the lessons that God wants us to learn in the process. Another part of understanding God's timing is recognizing that His delays are not because He is unwilling to bless us. On the contrary, He's working in ways we may not fully understand, bringing everything together in the perfect order. Sometimes we might feel as though things are moving too slowly or that we've been overlooked. But in reality, God is preparing the perfect moment for His will to unfold in our lives. His delays are part of the process of His perfect plan. When we trust that He is working behind the scenes, we find peace in the waiting. We don't have to rush or force things to happen. We can rest in the knowledge that God is doing the work. God's timing also teaches us that His delays are often an opportunity for growth. Waiting requires us to trust Him more deeply, to rely on His wisdom, and to surrender our desire for control. It teaches us to live with open hands, letting go of our need to dictate the future and allowing God to lead us in His way. We often learn more in times of waiting than in times of action. God uses those moments to refine us, to teach us patience, perseverance, and to build our faith. When we think about God's perfect timing, it's important to remember that He is never late. He is never behind schedule. Even though we may feel like we're running out of time or that things are dragging on, God's timing is always spot on. He has the perfect moment in mind for every blessing, every breakthrough, and every step of our journey. We may not see it now, but looking back, we can often see that everything happened exactly when it was meant to. We can take comfort in the truth that God's timing is always for our good. Romans 8:28 reminds us that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Even when things don't go according to our plan or our timing, we can trust that God is working everything for our good. He is bringing about his perfect plan in our lives, and though it may look different than what we expected, it is exactly what we need. In the end, trusting in God's timing allows us to live in peace, knowing that we don't have to rush ahead or panic when things don't happen when we want them to. We can rest in the certainty that God holds tomorrow, and he is leading us step by step according to his perfect plan. When we trust his timing, we can move forward with faith and confidence, knowing that his delays are not denials, they are part of his beautiful, perfect plan for our lives.